Imagine having complete control over your emotional state. Picture yourself remaining calm under pressure, bouncing back quickly from setbacks, and maintaining inner peace even when chaos surrounds you. What if you could transform anxiety into excitement, anger into determination, and fear into courage? Today, we're exploring Master Your Emotions by Thibaut Meurisse, a practical guide that reveals the secrets to overcoming negativity and managing your feelings like a true emotional master. Here's the truth most people never realize. Your emotions don't control you. You control them. The feelings that seem to overwhelm you, the moods that seem to hijack your day, the emotional reactions that sabotage your relationships and goals. All of these can be understood, managed, and transformed. But here's what makes this book different from other self-help approaches. Meurisse doesn't ask you to suppress your emotions or pretend they don't exist. Instead, he teaches you to work with your emotional system, understanding how it operates, and learning to direct it consciously toward the outcomes you want. In our fast-paced, high-stress world, emotional mastery isn't just helpful, it's essential. The people who succeed in relationships, careers, and life are those who can navigate their inner emotional landscape with skill and wisdom. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll journey through the practical strategies and insights that can transform you from someone who is controlled by emotions into someone who directs them purposefully. We'll explore how your thoughts create your feelings, how to break free from negative emotional patterns, and how to cultivate the emotional states that serve your highest goals. This isn't theory, it's a practical roadmap to emotional freedom. So let's begin this transformation together. Chapter 1. Understanding Your Emotions. Meurisse begins with a revolutionary insight. Most people have never been taught how emotions actually work. We experience them, react to them, and are often overwhelmed by them. But we rarely understand the mechanics behind our emotional experience. The author reveals that emotions are not random events that happen to you. They are signals, messengers that carry important information about your thoughts, beliefs, and current focus. Every emotion you experience is created by your interpretation of events, not by the events themselves. This is life-changing because it means you have far more power over your emotional state than you've been led to believe. Two people can experience the exact same situation and have completely different emotional responses based on how they interpret and focus on what's happening. Meurisse explains the emotion creation process. First comes a trigger. Something happens in your environment. Then comes your interpretation, the meaning you assign to that trigger. Finally comes your emotional response, which is always consistent with your interpretation, not with the objective reality of the situation. For example, imagine receiving critical feedback at work. One person interprets this as, "I'm terrible at my job," and feels devastated. Another person interprets the same feedback as, "This is valuable information to help me improve," and feels motivated. Same trigger, different interpretation, completely different emotional experience. The author emphasizes that this isn't about positive thinking or denial. It's about recognizing that your interpretation of events is often just one possible perspective among many, and you can consciously choose interpretations that serve you better. This understanding immediately gives you power. Instead of being a victim of your emotions, you become their director. Instead of asking, "Why do I feel this way?" you start asking, "How am I interpreting this situation? And is there a more empowering way to see it?" The practical application starts with awareness. Throughout your day, begin noticing the interpretations you're making about events and how those interpretations drive your emotions. This simple awareness is the first step toward emotional mastery. Chapter 2. The Power of Thoughts. Building on the foundation of understanding emotions, Meurisse dives deep into the relationship between thoughts and feelings. He reveals a truth that can transform your entire emotional experience. You are not your thoughts, and you don't have to believe every thought that crosses your mind. The average person has between 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day, and many of these thoughts are repetitive, negative, or simply untrue. Most people accept their thoughts as facts, but Meurisse shows that thoughts are more like suggestions, and you can choose which suggestions to accept and which to dismiss. Your thoughts create your emotions, but here's the key insight. You can observe your thoughts rather than being consumed by them. When you develop the ability to step back and watch your thinking patterns, you gain incredible power over your emotional state. The author introduces the concept of thought awareness, learning to catch negative or disempowering thoughts before they spiral into negative emotions. He explains that most emotional suffering comes not from single negative thoughts, but from chains of negative thinking that build momentum and create emotional storms. Meurisse shares practical techniques for managing your thoughts. The first is the thought challenge method. When you notice a thought that's creating negative emotions, ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helpful? Is there evidence against it? What would I tell a good friend who had this thought? Another powerful technique is thought replacement. Instead of fighting negative thoughts directly, you consciously substitute them with more accurate or empowering alternatives. If you catch yourself thinking, I always mess things up, you might replace it with, I'm learning and improving with each experience. The author emphasizes that changing thought patterns takes practice and patience. Your brain has developed neural pathways through repetition, and creating new, more positive pathways requires consistent effort. But the investment pays enormous dividends in emotional well-being and life satisfaction. One of the most liberating insights is that you don't need to analyze or understand every negative thought. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply to notice the thought, acknowledge it without judgment, and gently redirect your attention to something more constructive. Chapter 3. Breaking Negative Emotional Patterns. Meurisse addresses one of the biggest challenges in emotional mastery: breaking free from ingrained negative patterns that seem to run automatically. These are the emotional habits that kick in without conscious choice: the tendency to worry, the quick flash of anger, the spiral into self-doubt. The author explains that negative emotional patterns are like well-worn paths in your mind. They've been traveled so many times that they feel natural and inevitable. But just as physical habits can be changed through conscious effort and repetition, emotional habits can be rewired through understanding and practice. Meurisse introduces the concept of pattern interruption. The moment you recognize a negative emotional pattern beginning, you have a window of opportunity to interrupt it before it gains momentum. This might involve changing your physical posture, taking deep breaths, asking yourself empowering questions, or simply acknowledging, I'm starting to go down that familiar path, and I choose differently. One of the most powerful techniques is the emotional state change method. When you find yourself in a negative emotional state, you can consciously shift your physiology to shift your psychology. Stand up straighter, change your facial expression, move your body differently, or even just smile deliberately. These physical changes send signals to your brain that can instantly begin shifting your emotional state. The author also reveals the importance of identifying your personal emotional triggers. These are specific situations, people, or thoughts that consistently lead to negative emotional responses. By mapping your triggers, you can prepare strategies in advance rather than being caught off guard. Meurisse emphasizes that breaking negative patterns isn't about never experiencing negative emotions. It's about not being trapped by them. You can feel anger without staying angry for hours. You can experience disappointment without letting it ruin your entire day. You can acknowledge fear without letting it paralyze your actions. The key is developing what the author calls emotional agility, the ability to move through emotions consciously rather than being stuck in them unconsciously. This skill transforms you from someone who is controlled by emotional weather into someone who can navigate through any emotional climate. Chapter 4. Cultivating positive emotions. While much of emotional mastery involves managing negative emotions, Meurisse reveals that true masters focus more on cultivating positive emotions proactively. Instead of just defending against negativity, you can actively generate the emotional states that support your goals and well-being. The author explains that positive emotions aren't just pleasant experiences. They're powerful tools that enhance your performance, creativity, relationships, and overall life satisfaction. When you're in positive emotional states, you think more clearly, make better decisions, and attract more positive experiences into your life. Meurisse introduces practical techniques for generating positive emotions on demand. One powerful method is gratitude anchoring. By regularly focusing on what you're grateful for, you train your brain to notice positive aspects of your life. This isn't just feel-good advice. Neuroscience shows that gratitude practices literally rewire your brain for greater happiness and resilience. Another technique is emotional visualization. You can consciously recall times when you felt confident, joyful, or peaceful, and mentally relive those experiences with full sensory detail. This process triggers the same neurochemical responses as the original experience, allowing you to access those positive states when you need them most. The author also explores the power of emotional contagion. The emotions of people around you influence your emotional state, just as your emotions influence others. By consciously choosing to spend time with positive, uplifting people, and by being a source of positive energy yourself, you create an upward spiral of emotional well-being. Meurisse reveals that positive emotions are skills that can be developed through practice, not just happy accidents that sometimes occur. You can become someone who consistently experiences more joy, confidence, enthusiasm, and peace by applying specific techniques regularly. One of the most transformative insights is understanding that you don't need to wait for external circumstances to improve before feeling better. You can choose to feel good now, regardless of your current situation, and that positive emotional state will actually help you create better circumstances. Chapter 5. Dealing with difficult emotions. Meurisse acknowledges that life inevitably brings challenging emotions, grief, fear, anger, disappointment. Rather than viewing these as enemies to be avoided, he teaches you to work with difficult emotions skillfully and extract their valuable lessons. The author reveals that most people handle difficult emotions in one of two equally problematic ways. They either suppress them completely, or they become completely overwhelmed by them. Both approaches miss the wisdom that difficult emotions carry and create additional suffering. The path of emotional mastery involves learning to hold space for difficult emotions, experiencing them fully without being consumed by them. This means acknowledging what you're feeling, understanding why you're feeling it, and allowing the emotion to run its natural course without resistance or identification. Meurisse introduces the emotional processing technique. When difficult emotions arise, instead of immediately trying to change or escape them, you pause and ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What need is it highlighting? What action might it be calling for? For example, anger often signals that a boundary has been crossed or a value has been violated. Instead of just reacting angrily, you can use the anger as information to have a conversation, set a boundary, or make a change. Fear often highlights something important to you and can motivate appropriate preparation or caution. The author emphasizes that feeling difficult emotions doesn't make you weak. Avoiding them does. Emotional strength comes from being able to experience the full spectrum of human emotions without being controlled by any of them. Meurisse also addresses the difference between processing emotions and wallowing in them. Processing involves understanding, learning, and eventually moving forward. Wallowing involves repetitive focus on negative emotions without growth or resolution. Learning this distinction is crucial for emotional health. One powerful technique is emotional time boxing. When difficult emotions arise, you can say, I'm going to fully feel this for the next 10 minutes, and then I'm going to take constructive action. This allows you to honor your emotions without letting them dominate your entire day or week. Chapter 6. Emotional Intelligence in Relationships. Meurisse extends emotional mastery into the crucial arena of relationships. He reveals that most relationship problems stem from emotional reactivity rather than actual incompatibility. When you master your emotions, you dramatically improve every relationship in your life. The author explains that emotionally intelligent people don't take others' emotions personally. They understand that everyone is dealing with their own internal emotional weather, and they don't assume responsibility for managing other people's emotional states while still maintaining appropriate boundaries. One of the most powerful relationship skills is emotional non-reactivity. This doesn't mean being cold or uncaring. It means responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. When someone is angry or upset, an emotionally intelligent person can remain calm and either address the underlying issue or simply hold space without being pulled into the emotional drama. Meurisse introduces the concept of emotional leadership. In any relationship, someone is influencing the emotional tone. You can choose to be a positive emotional leader by maintaining your center, regardless of others' emotional states, and gently guiding interactions toward more constructive emotional territory. The author also addresses the challenge of dealing with difficult people. He reveals that difficult people are often those who lack emotional self-regulation skills. Instead of taking their behavior personally, you can respond with a combination of compassion and firm boundaries, understanding that their emotional reactivity reflects their inner state, not your worth. Another crucial skill is emotional validation. This involves acknowledging others' emotions without necessarily agreeing with their interpretations or demands. You can say things like, I can see you're really frustrated, without having to fix their frustration or accept blame for causing it. Meurisse emphasizes that healthy relationships require two emotionally mature people. You can model emotional intelligence and create space for others to respond similarly, but you cannot control or fix another person's emotional patterns. Your responsibility is to manage your own emotional state and respond from wisdom rather than reactivity. The transformation in relationships when you apply these principles is remarkable. Conflicts become conversations, drama becomes peace, and connection deepens because people feel safe in the presence of someone who isn't controlled by emotional storms. Chapter 7. Building Emotional Resilience. In this crucial chapter, Meurisse focuses on developing long-term emotional strength, the ability to bounce back from setbacks, maintain stability during challenging periods, and grow stronger through adversity. Emotional resilience isn't about being emotionally numb or avoiding difficulties. It's about developing the inner resources to navigate life's inevitable challenges without being permanently damaged by them. Resilient people feel emotions deeply, but recover more quickly and learn valuable lessons from difficult experiences. The author reveals that resilience is built through small, consistent practices rather than grand gestures. Daily habits like meditation, physical exercise, adequate sleep, and maintaining supportive relationships create a foundation of emotional strength that serves you during crisis periods. Meurisse introduces the concept of anti-fragility, becoming stronger through stress rather than just surviving it. This involves reframing challenges as opportunities for growth, viewing setbacks as feedback rather than failures, and extracting wisdom from every difficult experience. One powerful resilience-building technique is scenario planning. By mentally preparing for potential challenges and developing response strategies in advance, you reduce the emotional impact of unexpected difficulties. This isn't about becoming pessimistic. It's about being emotionally prepared. The author also emphasizes the importance of meaning-making in building resilience. People who can find purpose and meaning in their struggles recover more quickly and experience less long-term emotional damage. This might involve viewing challenges as character-building experiences, opportunities to help others, or steps toward important personal growth. Chapter 8. Creating Your Emotional Blueprint. Meurisse concludes by helping you design a personalized system for ongoing emotional mastery. He recognizes that everyone's emotional challenges and goals are different, so he provides a framework for creating your own customized approach. The author guides you through identifying your specific emotional patterns, triggers, and goals. This involves honest self-assessment of where you currently struggle emotionally and where you want to improve. Perhaps you want to be less reactive in relationships, more resilient under pressure, or simply experience more daily joy and satisfaction. Meurisse introduces the concept of emotional habits, specific practices that you implement regularly to maintain and improve your emotional state. These might include daily gratitude practices, regular physical exercise, mindfulness meditation, journaling, or specific techniques for managing stress and anxiety. The key insight is that emotional mastery isn't a destination you reach once and maintain forever. It's an ongoing practice that requires consistent attention and refinement. Just as you maintain your physical health through regular exercise and good nutrition, you maintain your emotional health through regular emotional fitness practices. The author emphasizes starting small and building gradually. Rather than trying to transform your entire emotional life overnight, focus on one or two specific areas and develop mastery there before expanding to other areas. This approach ensures sustainable change rather than temporary enthusiasm followed by discouragement. Meurisse also addresses the importance of progress tracking and self-compassion. Emotional growth isn't linear. There will be setbacks and challenging periods. The goal is overall improvement over time, not perfection at every moment. As we conclude our journey through Master Your Emotions by Thibaut Meurisse, let's take a moment to appreciate the profound transformation that's now possible in your life. You now understand that emotions aren't mysterious forces that control you. They're signals that you can learn to read, interpret, and direct. You've discovered that your thoughts create your emotions, and you can develop mastery over your thinking patterns. You've learned practical techniques for breaking negative emotional patterns and cultivating positive states. Most importantly, you've realized that emotional mastery isn't about suppressing your humanity. It's about expressing it more skillfully. You can feel deeply while maintaining your center. You can experience the full range of human emotions while not being controlled by any of them. The key insights we've explored today include: emotions are created by your interpretations, not by external events. You can observe your thoughts rather than being consumed by them. Negative emotional patterns can be interrupted and replaced with healthier responses. Positive emotions can be cultivated deliberately through specific practices. Difficult emotions carry valuable information when processed skillfully. Emotional intelligence dramatically improves all your relationships. Resilience is built through consistent daily practices, not just crisis management. You can design a personalized system for ongoing emotional growth. Remember, reading about these concepts is just the beginning. True emotional mastery comes through consistent practice and application. Start with one technique that resonated most strongly with you. Practice it daily for a week. Notice the changes in your emotional experience, your relationships, and your overall well-being. As Meurisse reminds us, emotional mastery is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. It improves every area of your life. Your relationships become more harmonious. Your work becomes more fulfilling. Your challenges become more manageable. And your daily experience becomes more joyful. The person who masters their emotions masters their life. You now have the roadmap. The only question remaining is, are you ready to begin the journey? Your emotions have been running the show long enough. It's time for you to take back control and create the emotional life you truly want. The power has always been within you. Now you know how to use it. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of emotional mastery. Remember, every moment offers a new opportunity to practice these skills. Start today. Be patient with yourself and watch as your entire life transforms from the inside out.